Hey, I'm James from Smoking Dad Barbecue, and today, well, we are talking about the big green egg-sized elephant in the room. If you haven't got time for the full 3 reasons behind why I felt this switch is absolutely necessary, I've got some rapid-fire questions to put your mind at ease. No. No. In fact, that's actually part of the reason I'm switching back. We'll get down to that a little bit later on. No. No. And just like before, I've got word and comments from people that are following along on a variety of different makes and models and successfully adapting my techniques and concepts or ideas to their grill, and the same will be true moving forward. Here comes the money. No. Both teams have very comparable marketing sponsorship support programs. And I couldn't, in the past, do things like Backyard Barbecue Rescue without sponsorship help, nor could I do things like Memphis in May or go to Texas. And the dollar amount between Team Green and Team Red is identical. $0 is the difference. And I cannot stress enough, if you've not heard me say this, my channel and opinions are not for sale for a couple dollars to the highest bidder. And it hasn't been in the past, and it never will be in the future. But I want to put your mind to ease that dollars has nothing to do with my reasons for switching. No. I started this channel because there's not really a consumer's reports doing deep dive honest reviews with a non-biased slant. So this doesn't mean that Team Green is now automatically better than Team Red. If and when there are things that are factually better, I'll be sure to include them. I think, for example, we can all agree that paint flaking off of your control tower top and ending up in your food probably isn't ideal. So now you've covered the rapid fire, let's get into the 3 main reasons behind why I switched. But the too long didn't read version is, think of maybe some famous athletic examples where an athlete switches from one organization to another just based off of the people, the organization, and the structure, and the hope that this is going to be what wins a championship. That, said more simply, reflects what I see with this decision long term. The plan for Kamado Joe includes 3 things that I'm personally not super excited about. So the first one is this notion of more smart Wi-Fi connected grills. As a shareholder, I think that's a great thing. As a live fire enthusiast, that's not really what tickles my fancy. Second was this notion of premium products, aka things that cost more because the premium grill category is growing quicker than other categories over the last 5 years compound annual growth rate. A Big Joe before the acquisition a couple years ago was $24.99, and now it's $29.99 US. And so that's a 20% price increase. But last but not least is cost cutting. And you search Facebook groups if cost cutting and efficiencies are something that are resulting in a better customer experience. Again, it's just not something that I think is maybe benefiting me as much as it might be benefiting me if I were a shareholder in the company. The real shift for me started with my review of the iCommand. In the past, whether it was appreciated or not, the fact I could speak openly and honestly about the good and the bad is one of the reasons that I called myself an ambassador for Kamado Joe, as I'm not an employee of Kamado Joe or Big Green Egg, and so being able to speak openly and honestly has been and always will be a core tenet of this channel. And whether it was intentional or not, after that review, I started to sense a lot more pressure to focus just on the positive aspects of a grill and not represent the whole 360 view. And how I was made to feel after that review is one of the things that has contributed to some distance between us. And like the pellet Joe before it, we already covered, same thing, meant to be used outside, can't be exposed to the rain, and you shouldn't build a roof or a pergola structure like I have here to protect it from the rain. But this is the product that really started to challenge, what does it mean to be an ambassador? If I use the rule of being an ambassador is I will recommend this to my friends and family before I recommend it to you, I have a hard time not looking at the brand new announced, and I'm sure you'll see a bunch more of this showing up on other people's feeds on social media, is the $29.99 connected Big Joe. If I were to look at what I would recommend, I would say have a hard time ignoring the Connected Joe Big Joe versus the Big Joe 2 at $19.99 and add a fireboard if I wanted some of those smart automation features and saving $600. And it's not just I get comparable features, I actually think I get more with the Fireboard option because the Fireboard is IP67 waterproof and it has 30 hours of battery life. So if the power goes out in the middle of the night, the Fireboard will continue running along, whereas the Connected Joe, even though it can be operated in manual mode, you have your vents set more tightly when using the fan. So if you weren't paying attention, not like you'd get an alert because the power has gone out, these will not continue to run along at the exact same temperature. I also had a wish. I want to be part of making the world's best Kamados. I mentioned earlier the team, and I've offered over and over to try and be closer to providing some of the feedback. And one of the things I included in my review is if you have the grill sort of in the backyard and you run an extension cord, and now you want to use a rotisserie, you need a second line in order to power the rotisserie. And what might be a great feature if you were designing a product is to have an outlet built into the grill that could power the rotisserie motor and not need a secondary extension cord and able to do all that. But it's the $600 and the functionality that had me questioning whether or not this is something that I could rally behind as a brand ambassador. Not that long ago, Big Green Egg didn't have things like the regulator cap or the expander rack and a whole suite of accessories. And I came up with 10 reasons why on paper I switched from Team Green to Team Red. But in 6 short years, a lot has changed. And I'm not here to suggest that any of these reasons in isolation is why I'm switching back, nor am I suggesting you need to do the same. But to show the culture of innovation that's gone on Team Green that has me excited about what's in store in the future, I thought I would do a quick then versus now catch up on my original 10 reasons that I shared across all my videos. This is something I've shared in many videos, particularly as I first got started, that the unboxing experience from Kamado Joe is industry leading and hands down the best that I had experienced over 6 years ago when putting a new grill together. But a lot has changed, and you might have saw the surprise on my face a year or two ago when I did an unboxing of the Primo Ovo XL and when I set up this Big Green Egg XL, that the competitors here have come a long ways, and you could be from box to grilling in about an hour now on all major brands. So this is something that I thought would solve a problem of never ever having to replace a broken firebox again. And it's true, those pieces are very durable because they can expand and contract, but the potential points of failure move elsewhere. And those 2 points are the metal ring and the bottom base, of which is where most people, myself included, have cracked. And I have replacement parts both for the ring and the box because that's actually some work that I need to do this spring. So the fact that you can have an airlift hinge and with very little effort, one finger, I'm in an odd angle, but both Primo and Big Green Egg have updated their springs to the point where, again, I'm nearly approaching that one finger operation. And these are both the extra large models. And so the innovation here on the spring and hinge assembly has come a long ways. And putting this together and doing some maintenance, it might just be more maintenance friendly for the average person who's not as familiar with the pneumatic spring mechanism inside of the airlift hinge. A great gasket it is, but also inexpensive it is not. And so this might be something that I hope would last a lifetime. But if you've seen some of my previous videos, I've done gasket repairs, and if I get the price right here, these are $139 Canadian. So they are not an inexpensive gasket. And like all wear and tear items, it is something that most people find themselves needing to replace. So if you're on the showroom kicking the tires on a couple different models, you may quickly observe what I noticed, which is the Kamado Joe is one of the few brands that have an integrated ash removal system. With 6 years or more now under the belt, you'll notice in any of my videos that I don't have that installed, because I learned is you can quickly overwhelm that design with ash, particularly on products like the Kettle Joe, but even Big Joe or Classic Joe, ash can build up and get stuck behind those wings. And the only way to get it out is either to have a shop vac and or remove the multi-piece firebox, which we covered earlier. Is not an insignificant task to get everything reinstalled and back together. And because of that, I've opted to use third-party products like a charcoal basket and a kick ash can so that I can remove all of that ash in one touch. That's been my preference for the last couple years and continues to be moving forward, even though it is available from the factory as a new option. If you've ever come from a daisy wheel that moves when you open and close your dome, this can be frustrating, particularly for new people trying to get their grill to maintain temperatures. But again, with the benefit of time, there's a couple pros. And there's a couple cons. In my review of the Primo Oval XL, I discovered that the more slots that we add, the more knife's edge that temperature management can become. And so, while I don't think by any means it's a problem with 2 openings versus 1 opening on the regulator, I have learned the regulator is by far the easiest to control from a temperature perspective. And like older models, or even my old Big Green Eggs, which had a cast iron top, just like the regulator is, if it ever rusts or needs to be reseasoned, I can reseason that, where I can't do that with cast aluminum. And as I mentioned before, we don't have the painted surface where those flakes can end up inside your food. This is something that Kamado Joe really simplified complex third-party products out there. There was a number of independent options, but a lot of people sort of struggle how to use those. They're not very intuitive. There's a lot of moving pieces and complexity. And the Divide and Conquer rack was a first step at simplifying what was previously a very complex notion of adding sort of multi-level cooking inside your Kamado Joe. But again, as time has gone on, others have caught up. And if you saw my Barre barbecue video with the top rack on the expander, where it doesn't need the grates installed in order to have access down below for running a live fire, I actually think Big Green Egg has pulled ahead on this one. Accessories, I think, is what makes a great Kamado an amazing Kamado, because they're so versatile. By adding a couple accessories, you can transform it into an even more versatile jack of all trades. And Kamado Joe, Big Green Egg, and Primo now all have pretty robust accessory offerings, and these accessory limitations are often what I cite when I review a grill last year, like I did the Golden's cast iron Kamado or the Weber Summit Kamado, where there's just a massive gap in the OEM accessories available in order to get more out of the product. Ninth on my list is warranty. And I'm not here to disparage anyone, but spend some time on Facebook groups and you can find accounts of success and some pretty frustrating accounts on either brand. And so Kamado Joe uses a direct to consumer model. Big Green Egg uses through the dealer model, which has since been updated to a hybrid model. What if your dealer closes up shop or you move, for example? There's now an answer for that. And over the last couple years, Big Green Egg has gone through perhaps one of the biggest revitalizations of its warranty program in the industry. And I had to actually paste a comment on my video and update it because so much was immediately obsolete once those improvements rolled out, that warranty is something that has been and will always continue to be at the top of my list. But proud to say, and maybe I had a small part in helping that Big Green Egg has heard the feedback on warranty and taken some massive steps to be an industry leader when it comes to a great lifetime ownership experience. When I saw the Engadget article of how a Harvard class was changing barbecue, that was the straw that broke this camel's back, and I just had to try it for myself. And the claim here, kind of the big bold letters all over the website at the time, was up to 20x more smoke circulation inside of your grill. And I was honestly surprised. You may have seen some of those videos where I did head-to-heads of a Series 3 versus a Series 1 and was honestly shocked that I could turn out a comparable result in a blind taste test. I couldn't find a difference between the oldest and least expensive Kamado versus the premium most expensive with the slow roller. Which one do you think is the oldest?
So the slow roller circulates the smoke more?
Yeah, so
That's what it's supposed to do.
yes, exactly.
So I would think that maybe it's that one because the flavor, like it even seemed a little smokier, and that was really good on the pulled pork.
This is the oldest Kamado Joe. This is the slow roller.
Really?
Yes.
That's so interesting. Okay, I would never guess that. That's funny, yeah.
In fact, I started to become suspicious of this as many of you on Facebook groups or communities let me know that you weren't maybe seeing the same incremental benefit. And I partnered with one of the top engineering schools that I could find in order to do some CFD studies. In this space, there's not necessarily standardized testing to prove these things out. And so my hope with the CFD study is to get a better understanding of what's going on. And so far, we have not had any luck getting anywhere close to the 20x sort of improvement in smoke circulation. And it's getting even worse now that we've updated it to take into account this year the lower temperature specs for the slow roller, which originally were 500 degrees Fahrenheit, but were quietly lowered to 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is getting to the point where maybe the air velocity just isn't moving fast enough to take advantage of those original swirls, which is maybe why that claim of 20x has been stripped from every major Kamado Joe primary website. In fact, you have to go searching on dealers' websites. There's only a few that haven't updated their marketing language to remove that claim of 20x. But if you didn't know it was there, you wouldn't even have an idea today that it was one of the original benefits that was so attractive to me. Mentioned earlier, most of my top 10 reasons for initially switching have been debunked, and a couple for Team Green have risen and put some points on the board, like the regulator cap in the sense that it can be reseasoned, doesn't have any flaking paint, and it's the easiest to use out of the testing that I've done out of all the different cap designs. Next was the expander rack, and I absolutely fell in love with this when I visited Cooper at Bar A Barbecue, had a Big Green Egg, and I was able to try adapting my cold smoke method in Kamado Grill and turn out results that he said he'd be proud to serve off the block at Bar A Barbecue, which I think is high praise and encouragement that if you're following along with the Kamado and you hear people online saying you can't cook Texas quality barbecue on a Big Green Egg, that myth is completely debunked. But it was the functionality of the expander here that actually caught my attention, where I have the ability to cook on the top rack without anything below it, giving me direct access to the fire, which is what I need for that cold smoking cook, where I need to feed wood splits about every half hour or so and run a nice low temperature of around 200 degrees Fahrenheit before throwing in my deflector plates and continuing on for the rest of the cook as I would on any normal low and slow indirect cook. So those are two areas where I think the product team at Big Green Egg has been listening to feedback and pulling ahead. I mentioned earlier on in my 10 list ideas originally switching from Kamado Joe to Big Green Egg that I didn't at that time do the 6-month review. This is something that I've been weighing a decision for a long time. So I've been testing this Big Green Egg from last summer forward before making a decision, just to make sure that there's nothing that I missed. And I had a chance to talk to Dan, the new CEO, and was hugely impressed with Dan and his leadership and the team that he is building around him in terms of how they're actually going to improve feedback. And I hope you're also seeing what I'm seeing, but there's new products like the regulator, like the expander, and a couple new things that I'm excited later in the year to be able to talk about from a product development perspective. But the roadmap is listening to feedback, and that was rooted in something that Dan, as a leader, brought into the table in terms of doing listening tours and talking to owners about what's best for them versus what's best for shareholders. So that was sort of a key point. I also got a chance to talk to their head of product development and have a couple great conversations, just again, showing the spirit of a listening ear. So not only with Dan and his leadership doing the listening tour, talking to real customers and owners about what would make their egg experience better, so is true with the team that Dan's put in place, including actual product development expertise, who I had some great conversations in terms of some of the CFD work that I'm exploring to their approach for testing and validating that products actually provide benefits. This is also true in how Big Green Egg went about updating their warranty and releasing some of these new products. And while I'm not able to yet announce anything sort of new and exciting on the roadmap, I think in the future, again, some of the reasons I mentioned, a long-term opportunity and where I see potential, there are some good things coming that I very much want to be part of. And speaking of wanting to be part of, a passion project that I have of wanting to be part of making the world's best Kamados is to actually make some accessories and products that I think will enhance it. And I need somebody who can manufacture it. And so this is by no means a slam dunk commitment that I've got a Big Green Egg accessory in the works, but the door's open to those chats that if and when the day comes where I have something and it's ready to see the light of day, it's a possibility, it's a conversation. And the fact that it's possible and a conversation stands night and day different in terms of how close I was able to get talking to other brands, engineering and product teams about what it might look like to partner. And that sort of spills into my third and final point, which is about the people and the community. So Big Green Egg, I couldn't be more impressed last year. I went to Memphis in May, and the only red grill that I saw was at the Home Depot tent where there was one in operation. Not only did Big Green Egg have a big manufacturer's presence on the Memphis in May tent with VIP events and experiences and fun things going on, a whole bunch of competitors had things going on. And so the involvement in the community, whether it's last year's Guinness Book of World Records, you know, the annual Egg Fest or other community events, for social media and doing content, getting plugged in and finding a way that I could come out, hang out with you and be part of an event and have some support and structure to do that. The fit long term just makes so much more sense for being able to create, I think, what will be engaging, entertaining, and informative content for the long haul. Thanks so much again for hanging in there in order to be part of this decision-making process as well as making it through all the three reasons. If somehow I missed something in all the questions that I received in advance of making this video, let me know down in the comments and I'll do my best to get to them. But that's it for today. I'm James from Smoking Dead Barbecue signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up, and moving forward on Team Big Green Egg.